Hello, welcome to Postcolonial Space. I'm Masood Raja, and today I want to talk about a few basic things about postcolonial studies, especially in an attempt to explain as to how postcolonialism isn't a single theory, but rather a field of study, a subfield of study which has various strains in it, right? Now, the reason I'm recording this is because I do get these queries every now and then through the comments where people would suggest, oh, I'm using postcolonialism as a framework. I'm using postcolonialism as a theory for my master's thesis, for my dissertation, for a paper. And I always find it slightly perplexing because there is no way I can answer that query in simplistic terms because I don't see postcolonialism or postcolonial theory as a single theory. Now, if you have watched, my basic lecture on postcolonialism or even the extended version, you will know that I use Robert Young's description of what he considers postcolonialism, with certain tropes that show up, right? The struggle against colonialism, the pre-colonial history, the contact phase, what happens to post-colonial nation states afterwards, right? The impact of neoliberal capital, post-colonial feminism, ecofeminism, all of these constitutes various theoretical strains within post-colonial theory. So if you are going to use post-colonial theory to write a paper or a dissertation or a master's thesis, a better approach won't be to suggest that I'm going to use postcolonialism, but rather set up your framework. Which aspect of postcolonial theory would you like to use? If it is postcolonial feminism, whose explanation of it, whose theorization of it? Are you going to use Gayatri Spivak, Chandra Mohanty, Laila Abu Lugad? So declare openly which one of the strains, which one of the feminist theorists' work you will use, right? That becomes the specific aspect of postcolonial theory that you will use for your analysis. Then, if you've watched my series on writing and scholarly writing, I highly recommend it. I'll post it in the comments, the playlist. You know that after you've declared what you're going to use, which aspect of postcolonial studies, you explain it, right? You give us your understanding of it. And the reason you give us your understanding of it is for two, rather more than two reasons, but two important reasons. One, it helps you specify which aspects of a certain theoretical explanation will you be mobilizing for your use. And two, it also announces to your future readers that you understand the complexities of that theory, that you are aware of any critiques of it that might be available. So you're being precise by actually explaining your own understanding of any theoretical strain within postcolonial studies that you will be using. And then you use that knowledge to read literary text or actual material conditions. Now let's use an example. I specialize partially also in neoliberalism and its impact on post-colonial societies. If you are going to use any aspect of neoliberalism, then you will start from a specific understanding of what do you mean by it? Whose explanation of neoliberal capital will you be using? You first start with a general explanation of it. Samir Amin, right? Amartya Sen, right? Anyone else, John Rapley, who has written about it. It doesn't have to be specific to your country, but you discuss your understanding of it. This is how John Rapley defines an economic regime comes to be. This is how neoliberal regime is different from the previous stages of capital. Then you take that knowledge and apply it to Pakistan, apply it to Jamaica, India. And within that also you have to be very specific, right? Because these are not monolithic cultures, these are cultures with subcultures within. So, overall, anytime you want to use post-colonial theory to write a paper or to write a dissertation or a thesis, please specify whose explanation of post-colonialism, whose understanding of post-colonialism, whose theory of any aspects of post-colonial life are you going to mobilize, right? And then explain how you understand that theory in your introduction, and then use that to read the text or write about that. That is generally what you do with any theory, literary or others, right? But in post-colonialism, the biggest mistake that you can make as a student or a scholar is to assume that post-colonialism is one theory, this one monolithic way of thinking the world, and then just assuming it and applying it. Remember, you always come from a perspective. You have to define where you got that perspective. If you're using Edward Said, which book of Edward Said? If you're using Gayatri Spivak, which book, which particular assertion by Spivak? Homi Bhabha, similarly. There is no generic post-colonialism that you can just assume and then start from. You will have to be very specific. And you'll have to acknowledge that post-colonialism as a field of study is diverse, right? And that it is intersectional, it is interdisciplinary, and that in order to use it, no single video is going to help you. You will have to go read the scholars. You will have to go read in depth and then display an understanding of that reading before you use it to write a thesis or write a paper. Now, I understand this sounds like a tall order, but for any scholar at any level, reading is absolutely essential, right? That's why these videos that I make are supplemental materials. These are not primary materials. These are just my own limited understanding of highly complex concepts and theories and ideas. The hope is that you will read first, or if the video introduces you to a text, you'll go and read that text carefully, because without reading, you cannot expect video lectures or video conversations to be all exhaustive and to give you all the answers. Now, I understand sometimes we are pressed for time and we need just a mere understanding of a concept. That's okay, right? A video can do that. But if you're serious about your work, if you want it to matter, if you want it to have some impact in the world, then what I encourage is to read carefully whichever aspect of post-colonial theory you are using, understand it carefully, explain it within the body of your paper or your thesis, and then with that understanding, read any literary or material text that you want to write about. That's all. I hope this is useful to you. Let me know what you think. Now, please keep in mind that I do have a whole playlist of a free post-colonialism course, which goes slightly chronologically. I have another playlist which covers about 39 to 40 post-colonial concepts, and quite a few other videos that deal with research, especially in humanities, how to plan it, how to organize it. And I will try to post links to those playlists in the description. But if you just do a channel search or just go to the playlist, you will see them. I highly encourage you to watch those as a first step, right? Not as a conclusive answer to your questions. Watch those videos and then go and read further. And these two combined then will enable you to do the kind of work, that is convincing and that you can be proud of. So that's all I have to say. I will be very happy to answer any questions that you have or any comments that you have. So please feel free to share your thoughts And as always, I hope you're staying safe and taking care of each other. Please continue to do so. I will now see you next time with some other topic. Until then, as always, peace and love.